My name is Mr. X, and I have been tagged by Gem Mint Collectibles. If you don't know who that is, that's the guy that kind of looks like a comic-based version of Kingpin. I think I've been tagged. He told me I was, but I haven't watched his videos yet. I don't watch his videos. I just pay $15 a month to be a member and not get a gem next to my name. But he tagged me and challenged me to throw out my top MCU favorite movies. Now, I'm going to let you know right now, I guarantee my list is going to be controversial. How do you know that, Mr. X? Well, because I have eloquent taste. Eloquent is also another word for unique or trashy. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we're giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey guys, welcome to the Extreme channel. My name is Mr. X. As I said in the intro, Gem Mint recently launched a video because he was tagged to talk about his top 10 favorite MCU movies. Now, I haven't watched his yet because I don't want it to influence my decisions. So after I edit this, I will actually watch his. But he called me up and told me, hey, I'm tagging you on this. You want to make a film on your favorite MCU movies released thus far. Now, before we dive into the list, let me do a little bit of a disclaimer as what qualifies as MCU. Just because a movie is about a Marvel-based character does not mean it falls into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, for example, the only Spider-Man that officially falls into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least for now, I just bought my tickets for No Way Home, is Tom Holland. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield aren't officially in the actual MCU, even though they're in a Marvel Cinematic film. So other examples of that would be like Blade. So this is specifically like from Iron Man Phase 1 all the way up to the most recent release of Eternals. Now also as a disclaimer, I haven't yet seen Eternals. I only go to the theater if my children want to, and they didn't want to see that in the theater, so I'm waiting for it to come out on Disney+. So that will not be included in the countdown, but I very much look forward to that film. Otherwise, I'm going to pick my top 10 of the MCUs from Iron Man 1 all the way up to the release of Black Widow. As I said earlier, I think people are going to be surprised by my list. So how I defined my favorite was, which ones do I like to watch over and over again? And a good example of this is if they're on TV, will I stop changing the channels? So I'm not rating this had the best acting, this had the best fight sequences, this had the best storyline. These are just my favorites of what I could watch over and over again because I enjoy them. So number 10, I don't think will be in many people's top 10 list, but for me, it was one of the first MCU films and he was a favorite growing up. So it was the original Thor movie. I absolutely love this. I loved Chris Hemsworth being introduced. I love the comical aspect of this. I loved how he regained his worthiness. It also started tying into all the other future and past MCU movies, which I thought was really cool, and introduced Loki, of course, which has played an integral role throughout the entire MCU and still continues to on his Disney Plus series. So with that being said, too, I want to remind everybody, these are just cinematic films. It doesn't include anything from Disney Plus like WandaVision, Hawkeye, which personally I'm actually quite enjoying. Number 9 was the one that started it all. I love the original Iron Man. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I always liked Robert Downey Jr., but this made me absolutely love him. I like how they set everything up. He just nailed the character of Tony Stark to a T, in my opinion, and I love to see Tony Stark evolve from this until his last film, The Endgame, which will also be on this list. But I love the representation of Iron Man. I was never a big Iron Man fan growing up. This film made me actually like the character Iron Man. Number 8 was Guardians of the Galaxy. This was one, I was not really familiar with Guardians of the Galaxy growing up. You know, I'd heard of them, but I'd never really gotten to their comics, so it was cool to see them live action, and I really grew attachment to a lot of the characters. I'm actually selling my Guardians of the Galaxy statues here in a few months, so make sure you've not only liked this video, but you've subscribed to the channel and you've hit that bell notification, because I have some pretty badass ones. But again, great film, introduced a lot of cool characters, and it really started tying in Thanos, who's the ultimate villain in the MCU. And if you're new to the channel, you don't know that Silver Surfer is my favorite character, so I had a lot of ties to Thanos in the comics growing up. And I like the comic version better than the Josh Brolin version, but I think he did a fantastic job as well. Which brings me to number 7 is Avengers Endgame. So I thought parts of this movie were really slow, and I understand why they had to do that. I think the movie was too long, but the action scenes are unbeatable. And I really like how this showcased how fantastic Thanos is and how powerful he is, even without the Infinity Stones. And I think for the most part, despite some oddities in it, it wrapped up a lot of the questions we had, and it was a good ending to Phase 3 within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Number 6 is the most recent one I watched. It's ShangChi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Again, another one I have no familiarity with in the comics, but I thought this movie was fantastic. From the action scenes to the comedic relief, especially by the supporting characters, I was a big fan of this. I was incredibly pleasantly surprised. I wasn't a huge fan of how elaborate the ending was. I think it went a little overboard. And I actually wrote a blog on this. You can check it out on theextremechannel.com. I do daily blogs and weekly newsletters, so make sure to go to that website and check it out. I also talked about how they awkwardly tried to shove some of the other MCU characters into this movie. I really didn't dig it. I think this could have just been a complete standalone, but it'll be interesting to see what they do and how they tie those characters into future MCU movies. So number 5 is the most recent Spider-Man, Far From Home. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I really like this. I loved introducing Mysterio, and now we have a hint that hopefully he fights the Sinister Six. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is a fantastic actor. What I really like about Tom Holland's performance is I really feel like he is still a teenager, as opposed to the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, which is the Spider-Man that I grew up with. And obviously the special effects were second to none, lots of action sequences, and again, you really get tied into the supporting characters, and I think that's what makes a film great. Number 4 will probably be my most controversial pick, and I almost put this up higher, but number 4 is Thor Ragnarok. I love that movie. I love every part of it. I know it's cheesy, I know it's hokey, but it has some fantastic action scenes. While I didn't like the portrayal of Hulk, I do like how they used him, if that makes sense. I thought Hela was incredibly badass, and again, you got to know more of the Asgardian characters. And again, a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and that's okay. This is why we have different people doing their countdowns of their top 10 MCU movies. Like, for example, a lot of people claim Captain America Winter Soldier is one of the best films out there. I really enjoy it. It was probably number 11 or 12 for me, but it's not on the top 10 countdown list. Number 3 is a Captain America movie, though. I loved Captain America Civil War. I love how it introduced Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Ant-Man got to play a bigger role. You really felt for Tony Stark and even Bucky and Captain America. So it really developed those characters, and you saw that conflict within them, so I thought that was pretty cool. Plus, you got to see the Avengers fight each other, and I thought the storyline was pretty decently logical. Number 1 and 2, can you guess what those are yet? Number 2 absolutely amazed me. Of all of these right here, this was my favorite to see in the theater. I remember my child was so young, my oldest child was so young at the time. I want to say he was like 4 or so it was over 10 years ago. At least I think that's how old he is. But it doesn't matter. I went to see it first to make sure he'd like it. And I loved it so much. It was one of the best movies in the theaters I'd seen in a long time. And that, of course, was the original Avengers movie. I loved how it introduced all the characters. I loved the storyline. I loved them fighting Loki. I thought this was absolutely wonderful. I think this is the MCU's second best movie. Now, one of the reasons I like it so much, it's just the core basis of the Avengers and those characters. And I love the representation of Hulk in that, how everybody was afraid of Bruce Banner coming out as Hulk. You got to see Thor and Hulk fight a little bit. You got to see Thor and Iron Man fight a little bit, as well as, of course, the giant, awesome battle at the end. So number 1, if you haven't figured it out yet, is also another Avengers movie. No, it's not Age of Ultron, but I thought Avengers Infinity War was the best of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think they just knocked it out of the park. I was able to avoid spoilers, so when Thanos won in the end, spoiler alert by the way, I was shocked. All these people started disappearing. I could not believe it. And not only that, but I think this has some of the best action fight sequences out there. When Thor returns to Wakanda at the end, that was absolutely phenomenal. The opening where Hulk fought Thanos, I was bummed we didn't see more of Hulk in the movie. The whole Wakanda battle in general, we got to see a glimpse of Scarlet Witch's real power. The opening fight sequence in New York with Iron Man and Doctor Strange was amazing. I could go on and on because there are just so many great things about this movie, and to me, I think it's going to be hard to beat for any future comic book movie in general. But I look forward to seeing them try. But to me, this is the number 1 MCU movie, at least right now. And I look forward to redoing this list probably in a few years from now when they've added 10 to 20 more. So big shout out to Gem Mint. Thanks for tagging me. I'm going to tag 2 people as well. Number 1, Mint Hunter Comics. James, you are up. I expect you to do this. And number 2, my boy Craig at Half-Fast Reviews. I want to hear your top 10s. Please go ahead and shoot those videos. But more importantly, because those guys aren't really important, is I want to hear your opinion. Throw your top 3 in the comments below. And the reason I asked you to comment is you could win a statue. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Again, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Thanks for everybody for participating. Please drop me a like on the way out. It really helps the channel, as well as throw down your 3 specific favorites below. Also, check out some of these other videos until I talk to you next time. Take care.